Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a great day. I'm doing all right. And yeah, today's I guess the name of today's video is going to be um the narrative of the modern day music industry. So it's called The Narrative of the Modern Day Music Industry. And basically, it's just talking about the control of the music industry nowadays. It might not have always been like this, but obviously, millions of people online have made videos about this and about how a lot of modern day hip hop is demonic and it's from Satan, literally, and how the control of the music industry looks as though it's been hijacked or it's always been in their hands since the jump. You know, not just hip hop, but like metal, heavy metal, rock. A lot of it has like the demonic things and the symbolism and everything like that. And, certain symbolisms. There's the triangle, there's the Freemasonic square and compass, which looks like that, you know what I mean? And then they got the whole tip of the iceberg or upside down or masculine, feminine, all this crazy stuff, right? So, anyways, but yeah, so becoming an artist or an entertainer at the top comes with a cost, especially nowadays, okay? Selling your soul to the devil is legit. It's not obviously like, oh, here's my soul, take it. It's not like that, you know? It's subtle in the beginning, but oh, so obvious by the end. Katy Perry has Jesus tattooed on her wrist and has had that for a long time. She came from singing gospel music. She was all about praising the Lord and being brave in her faith, right? And over time, they've stripped that from her. She's never mentioned Jesus in her songs, I'm pretty sure, because I've seen people to bring this up, and I've seen her in interviews crying, saying she misses the Lord. And, that's coming from guilt, whether she was a Catholic or not, but people call it that. There's that Catholic guilt because you feel it in your heart, like you turned your back on him, and so but here's the thing is, there's two things that they usually hit people with behind you have to read between the lines, but they even put it in such things as the contracts themselves, or they'll subtly suggest it to you, then give you a harsher suggestion. We've heard all types of stories. If you've listened to Jaguar, right, which she's probably in on it too, but at least she's being honest enough to expose a lot of it. So, but yeah, dude, there's two things that I would say, Number one, she can't say Jesus in her songs. She cannot praise God. So there goes her soul. You know what I mean? But that's just one thing that you have to do for Satan when you go into the modern day music industry. That's just number one. Number two is even worse in some opinions, because number two, she has to lead others astray through her influence, lyrics, videos, and music. There goes the souls of millions. That's the difference. Is they don't just want people who have talent nowadays. Like if you're sick at rapping, you can be like shibba da dooba da beepa da ba, and like just chop everything up and you're nasty, and then you still wonder, oh, why am I not being signed? Why aren't people taking a look at this? How is it not hitting the numbers that other people hit even after years? And you could try going the independent route with music, but it's so much harder. But they put these people, it's like as if they have these positions reserved for people and they just hand pick them. This will be a good puppet. This puppet will be a nice one. Oh yes, very interesting. Let's co-sign this one. You know what I mean? And this is the type of stuff that they do. And they want to make sure that obviously you would be willing to sell your own soul, but that's just like a prerequisite at this point. That's just a minor thing in the grand scheme of everything. They want somebody who can be used as a tool like a cog in the machine. They want somebody who can be used as a tool to lead many other people astray, everybody who listens. That's why hip hop nowadays, they glorify firearm usage, stabbings, using anything as a weapon, hurting people, physical fights, jumping people 5-on-1, 10-on-1, gang warfare, gang mob mentality, violence, disrespect towards females, calling them all sorts of names, putting them down. And then you have the female rappers telling girls they don't need no man and you can be a boss babe queen by yourself and all this. And so they're dividing men and women from each other, and they're also dividing hearts and smashing hearts and making you start to think with a different, deeper, darker part of our psyche and starting to embrace that as truth. And that's why you see so much violence, not just black on black violence, not just violence in the hoods, but a lot more anywhere. It's hit the suburbs, it's hit cities, it's everywhere, dude, because the music is universal, you know, and this is how Satan works, is he knows he has to work through influence, through various forms of influence, and this is how he gets to people. And he has to use a couple people to reach a lot of people, and this is what is known as your modern day not influencer, your modern day entertainer or your modern day artist. You know what I mean? They don't even just call you a musician. They don't even use that word anymore because they know better, you know? But yeah, it's just crazy once you take a deep dive into it. It's just shocking. In my opinion, if she doesn't return, Katy Perry, if she doesn't return to the Lord soon on Judgment Day, she would unfortunately hear those painful words that we all fear. Depart from me, I never knew you. Living in a consistent state of willful, cognizant, and intentional sin is one thing, but bringing millions with you intentionally is another can of worms entirely, okay? Those are the types of sins that cannot be overlooked or forgiven, in my opinion. Lil Nas X using graphic imagery of getting al-zutted by Satan in his previous music video. Yeah, that gets pushed heavily, stuff like that. But do you see anybody praising God and getting over 100 million views on a YouTube video that's for music or anything like that? No, you don't, because they don't want any of those slots reserved for people of the Most High, unfortunately, okay? So you also see such things in the music videos, or especially concerts, which are just energy harvesting rituals. More on that later. But yeah, you would see such things as upside down crosses, various hand signs, grotesque imagery, sacrilegious intent behind all of it, and confusion. It all screams Satan. Woe to you who call good bad and bad good. Do you understand this? They don't even sign people for talent anymore. They sign people for compliance and control. Lack of morality is seen as dollar signs from the synagogue of Satan. Follow the paper trail, follow the breadcrumbs, and you will see. In the Bible, Lucifer was known to have the most beautiful voice of all. So it's no shock to see that thousands of years later, he is the music industry, specifically modern day hip hop, but also rock, heavy metal, things like that. I don't think country falls under that category because they're just like, I'm sad because my girl left me and my banjo string broke and a squirrel came by. I tried to shoot it with my BB gun, but it still lives. No dinner for me. Boo-hoo. So it's really not that bad, you know, like compared to the other stuff. But anyways, growing up, I knew all of the lyrics by heart in such songs. They put evil lyrics behind catchy, feel-good instruments. And instrumentals, rather, like beats, you know, bypassing the left side of the brain of logic and reasoning and instantly targeting the subconscious, the emotional brain. They hijack your emotions, thus validating the call to violence, etc. Because if they can get you to open up your heart centers, you know what I mean, and the floodgates opened with your brain too, then now everything comes through. You need to learn how to protect your eye gates and your ear gates, because it's what you allow into you, not just what goes in your mouth and what you eat and drink, but things that go through your eyes and get perceived by your brain, things that go in your ears and get perceived by your brain. These are all the holes. These are all the portals to the different various spiritual or astral dimensions and such. So, anyways, they hijack your emotions, thus validating the call to violence, etc. Violence in songs seems justified. People will be like, oh, they had it coming, you know, and they think they're justified in doing such acts. That's crazy, because prior to listening to that music for months and years at a time, I guarantee you they didn't feel that way in the beginning. So that was the music changing them. Disrespect for and towards women. It seems understandable because modern day feminism gave them a god complex, and it resulted in breeding narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. Yeah, glorifying dealing and using drugs. So they glorify all of this like it's a good thing, like it's cool. Like, so then you got kids who are from ages 10 to 30 and they start selling a lot of stuff because they listen to it and they're like, oh yeah, this is the cool thing to do. Yeah, making quick money. And they don't think that they're going to go to prison and it's going to ruin their whole life, and they're selling drugs to somebody who's going to overdose and they're responsible for somebody being dead, partially responsible, you know, in a way. But it's just crazy because you don't think of the consequences. And this is what I mean when it bypasses that logical, analytical part of the brain that would say, this is not a good thing. It's not good. This trick isn't going to work on me. And it goes right to this side of the brain. And they've learned how to do that. Not to mention that they use 432 instead of 440 now. No, they use 440 instead of 432. 432 is a good, natural, very pure tone frequency, and they've put it up by 8 notches, and now the standard tuning nowadays is 440 hertz, and it's if you get 439 or 441, you're closer to an original sound of the creator. That's how precisely it's been manipulated to put it right to that perfect number, and it can make you fucking like react and do certain things, you know, and that coupled with listening to what the lyrics are saying results in very bad things, you know. So like I said, um, also glorifying firearms, black on black violence, the hoods, gangs. It even gets desired by regular citizens. That's how effective the music is. You know what I mean? It gets anybody who listens to it for too long. I used to be like that when I was a kid. You know, somebody did me wrong financially, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go look for him. And the next days, I would have gloves on and like a thing covering my face, and I would be driving around listening to like gangster music and be like, yeah, you know, and like in my head, I'm like, if I see him, it's over, you know, and all this crazy stuff. And that's from the brainwashing from the music. I'm telling you, I'm a little older now, so I've been able to remove myself from everything and see things for what they are. If you're this close, you're not going to be able to see the bigger picture. You have to take a couple steps back, and then you can see it for what it truly is, you know? This music turns citizens to criminals, point blank, period. Okay? It makes religious youths begin to worship idols, musicians, Satan, and even themselves instead of God, and it veers them off of the narrow path. Okay? You want to rap about world peace, Jesus Christ, celibacy, marriage, true love, and unity? Good luck, because it's not going to sell in today's market, unfortunately. Not only will it be incredibly difficult to succeed, but gatekeepers will use all of their contacts and powers to stop you anyways if you don't fit the narrative and the description of what they're looking for. This is all spiritual warfare, simply manifested in the physical realm. That's what it is. They want the children's minds because the kids and the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. Be the glitch in the matrix. Stand firm in your faith. Knowledge is power. Application of knowledge is wisdom. That's all I got. So until next time, stay safe, be blessed, and live lavishly. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you all. Peace.